Each day, more and more people are listening to music on Spotify, and that's also true for podcasts. Next time you're on the Spotify app, make sure to follow Thrive Loud with Lou Diamond. Enjoy listening to Lou, his incredible guests, and all of the amazing episodes. Listen, follow, and share. Thrive Loud on Spotify.
In a court ruling U.S. versus Fishbein, a man subjected to potential incineration while wearing another man's suit is entitled to $10,000 worth of airline tickets. It's an obscure ruling, but a very important one. To Thrive Loud with Lou Diamond.
It's time to take an inside look at those that are taking their lives, their businesses, and their passions to the next level. Get ready to thrive loud with Lou Diamond.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Thrive Loud with Lou Diamond, connecting you to the most inspiring and amazing people that are thriving each and every day. I'm your host, Lou Diamond. Today on Thrive Loud, we have an experienced leader and passionate sales professional. I'm going to love this conversation today, with a demonstrated history of managing teams in the financial services and financial technology industry. He is the managing partner of Adaptive Growth Leadership, a professional services firm focused on developing the desired habits of high-performing sales organizations. Guy who's speaking my language all right from the start here. Thrive Loud listeners, Dale Favors. Dale, how are you today?
Hey, nice to meet you, and nice to be here with you, Lou.
So, Dale, you have an interesting story. You have a good career, and I kind of want to understand and let the listeners hear more of your background first, and then we'll kind of dive into the language that you and I speak in getting people to thrive in the way they sell and perform. So can you give, like, not rewind to the womb, although that's doable in some cases, but talk about a little of your career so we could paint a picture.
It might be interesting. Take you back, a funny movie. I don't even know if you saw, but Steve Martin used to be a great comedian in the 70s, and
absolutely
he did a movie that was hilarious, and it started off saying, Steve Martin's a white comedian, but the movie started off saying, I was born a poor black child. And so
the Jerk is one of my favorite movies, Dale.
I won't say that, but I grew up.
This man hates cans. Okay.
Look, one of my favorite most hilarious movies that I've seen, man. And he was a great comedian as well as Richard Pryor. I love great comedians. But I grew up in Ohio, Dayton, Ohio, and ended up moving to a town called Yellow Springs, where I did a lot of my schooling in the later years. And that gave me two different perspectives on the world. I had this perspective of growing up in more of a predominantly Black town and community, and then moved to this more diverse community that was not the city, but was very mixed. And so that Yellow Springs experience was just fascinating, where it opened my eyes to a lot of things. Two of my very good friends, they are brothers. They were both adopted by a white family. One was adopted, was Black, and the other brother is white. And they are two of my best friends in the world, along with several other guys that I met there, Martin Abrams, Martin Brown, the Stewart brothers. We all grew up together. But what it did was it gave me a platform to try and expose myself to a lot of different things. And it was Yellow Springs is the home of Antioch College. So that was a very liberal college and a very liberal town. So having that experience plus my foundation, which was in Dayton, Ohio, created this mix in me that allowed me to be extremely curious, as well as I think I took a lot of my intuition of looking, listening, and taking in my environment and being aware of my environment. And that led me probably a lot of my success. But that took me to Florida A&M University in Tallahassee, Florida, where I did my undergrad and my MBA. Had a very short football career there, but what it did was being in the School of Business and Industry at Florida A&M then gave me another platform to grow and to build on the things that I had already, the foundation that I had, and then learn more. And the dean of the business school, Dean Sybil Mobley, was just a visionary. And you're talking about she sold the Kool-Aid, we drank the Kool-Aid, and we lived her dream. And her dream was for her to put out and produce a number of African-American men and women who would go out into the business world and be successful. She did that. And so I had the opportunity after graduate school to come to New York to work for Morgan Stanley. I got a job offer from Morgan Stanley in fixed income sales and trading, where again, the foundation from Ohio, the tutelage and finishing school at Florida A&M at the School of Business, and then coming to New York to play in the big pool, right? So now we're swimming in the 12 feet, and it's like, okay, you gotta get out here and swim. I had all the skills, but one thing was, there was two things coming to New York that was part of the learning process. One, you had to learn how to compete and exist in a very fast moving corporate environment, which was the trading floor, while at the same time getting to know the nuances of New York City and its diverse population. And New York is diverse in a couple ways. It's diverse economically, but it's diverse ethnically as well. So I learned a lot about things that I didn't pay much attention to in Ohio. Ohio was white, black. Florida was probably more white, black. You get to New York, it's Jewish, Irish, Italian, African-American, Jamaican, other Caribbean, African, it's Asian, it's everything. And so now you're like, oh, okay, so this part of town, I get that. And so you start to develop your chops and understand different things from a religious standpoint, as well as from an ethnic standpoint, as well as from who went to school where, why this matters, who went to prep school, who didn't go to prep school, who went to Ivy League, who went to state college. And you learn all these things because there's this pecking order that you have to sift through, and then you have to figure out how you're going to build relationships and compete. And so that once I figured all that out, I flourished.
First of all, thank you for that background. A couple of quick comments. One, Dale Favors would have been a spectacular professional sports name, just out of the gate right away. I mean, my goodness, I'm in favor. You can see like headlines and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I also love how you just described this, and it does make a lot of sense because you and I have very similar backgrounds. I too work in the trading and the fixed income world on a trading floor, and what that environment is like, and the ability to adapt in different environments. Mm-hmm. I actually, and from, like you said, you just also described why Ohio is such a central place during election years, because it is got that balance from one city to the next in such a unique way of looking at things across the economic and the ethnic scale. Mm-hmm. But maybe more importantly, how important was those places that you were at, Ohio, Florida Atlantic, working on a trading floor, in your ability to understand people, connect with them, mm-hmm. and how that helped you really almost launch you forward, right? Because it's that ability in sales, which I imagine is one of your key components on how you work on high performing sales folks. Mm-hmm. How important was that upbringing for you in the way that you communicate your messaging and the way you sell, actually?
Well, I think my upbringing gave me the ability to understand habits and personalities of different people and figure out how to get the best out of them, right? And mm-hmm. it's how you communicate with people and what you do to connect with people. So part of sales is first connection, because if you don't build that connection with the person you're selling to, then they're not inspired to buy from you. And so what we do at my company at Adaptive Growth Leadership is we help develop and evolve sales teams, but we also work with leadership, so management teams, and helping them develop and cultivate a community, a culture that leaders thrive in. And so we do that. And I learned a lot of that from watching my parents, right? And watching how they engaged and interacted with different people. And so I took some from that. And then when I got to Florida A&M in Tallahassee, I had to figure out, here I am, this guy from Ohio. There was only one other person from my high school at the school she was 2 years in front of me. And I had to figure out, I had to figure out how to build relationships with different people. And as I said, I started out on the football team. So that's a whole nother group of people that I had to get to know, the football players from all over the country, but mostly from Florida and South Florida specifically. And so it's understanding those people, how to engage with them. And then you get to the School of Business, which had this diverse group of students, not only from Florida, but from Georgia, from the Midwest. From, when I'm talking about Midwest, I'm talking about Detroit. And you had some Ohio folks, and you had some people from Chicago, and you learn how to build those relationships with all those people from those different backgrounds. And so what you find is you have to find something that's common.
Yeah.
And if you can start from this common ground, you can begin to build the relationship. And once you build that relationship and you build trust, now you have the opportunity to become part of the family. And that's what happens when you're selling as well.
I'm going to go down two avenues here because I think this is also timely. We're recording this in early 2021. Mm-hmm. Thank goodness that other year is behind us. And moving forward, onward and upward, which is what this show always tries to hit upon. We have lots of challenges across our country, which were brought out this past year. Mm-hmm. And you hit this. I think you were being all too kind on what actually happens on a trading floor for those. Yeah, you have different mixes of different types of people, but it certainly has had cultural challenges. I mean, let's call it what it is. It definitely was an exclusive group for a very long time. And to your Amen. Dean's point at Florida A&M, to bring people into this community, get Black successful businessmen into that challenge. I want to talk about this today. I want to hit it face on.
Please.
The challenges in connecting and helping others connect back to people standing in their own shoes, the ability of empathy in the work environment, because I think this is something that we're all trying to do a better job of. We've had on this program Tony Chapman, who speaks about the unconscious bias. He's a really good friend of mine, a great speaker, and comes from a challenging area in Chicago and really has a great perspective in helping corporations and companies understand it. You had a front row seat and we're literally in it. Is it any better and today in your mind? And do you feel that in a lot of the work that you're doing, that it's actually really helpful in helping people understand that as you connect and try and sell and a lot of those things? Because I actually think it is. I wanted to get your sense on this. This should be a fun
I would tell you, that's a good point. So I would tell you, we first have to all realize we're just people. And I sell this all the time. What I sell is we all have the same common outcomes that we would like to have. We would all like to be able to live comfortably, take care of our families, and be able to establish ourselves where we can gracefully retire at some point and live a comfortable life. So we want to be able to grow on the front end of life and continuously develop and evolve and build a family, take care of that family, put them in college, give them the shot that they need to have, as well as you're coming to the back end of that life, be able to enjoy it and flourish and take the relationships that you build over time and just enjoy them. So that's what we all want. That has nothing to do with color. That has nothing to do with race. It has nothing to do with gender. We all want that. So when you understand that that's what we want, we have to then get beyond the things that have been created. And there's some who have done this very well. You've watched it over the past 4 years of creating divisions by creating a situation where you say, they want this and we want that, or they do this and we do that. When you create those divisions, people find a home somewhere in that divide. And then that's where you have the conflict. In the end, we all want the same three things that I talked about before. So if we understand that that's what we want, those are the outcomes we want, then we can find a way to all do this together, live in the same places amongst each other or not, whatever you choose. But we all want the same thing. So what has to happen is you have to, in the trading floor, was that place, and Wall Street itself was that place in the early 90s when I joined. No, it wasn't as diverse as it should have been, and historically it had not been. Got that. But I had to first sell somebody on the fact that I deserved a chance.
Yep.
And if given the chance, I could not only evolve and integrate myself into the environment, but also be a productive person. So if I'm producing, now my voice can be heard, and it should have, it's heard more often or much louder, let's say. And then that voice can have strength to it and begin to question the norms. And if you can question the norms, then and hopefully you've built the relationships and the trust. Now what you're able to do is enlighten others on why the norm may not be the thing that's necessary going forward, and you can open that up to other people.
Yeah,
and that's what
I love
it's
that.
about.
Yeah, and it's true, and I loved your point. It doesn't matter what your race, whatever it is, and specifically as it related to Wall Street. One thing I learned is that green is everybody's favorite color.
Everybody's favorite color is green. Because that green allows you to do all those things we talked about: live a comfortable life,
exactly,
take care of your family, and retire gracefully.
Hear, hear. So let's talk about this work you're doing, and I want to talk about the environment we're in today with a lot of people working virtually at the time we're recording this, and it's starting to open up in certain areas, and maybe there's glimmer of hopes, but we know that it's going to take a little longer. Talk to me about the challenges you're seeing with your clients in helping to do the sales they need to do in this, call it virtual or call it hybrid virtual environment, and how you're helping them do it better.
Okay. Well, I'm going to take you on a quick journey so that you can see how my business has changed and evolved through this period of disruption. So we started out doing focused on a number of training. So working with sales teams, coaching senior leaders at different firms, and providing some thought process, even for some of those individuals who were displaced. And so coaching them through the process of how to find that next opportunity, and what should that next opportunity be, and how should they dedicate their time to doing whatever. Should it be entrepreneurship? Should it be going down the same path? Should it be trying other angles of extending their career? So it's all that type of stuff that we were involved in. Then COVID hit, and we were still doing some of that, but the sales trainings started to dry up. But what did happen was, because one of the words I used before, because we had built a certain level of trust with the organizations we were working with, those same organizations began to ask us questions around how do we remain relevant in this new environment in which COVID is impacting our ability to engage with customers directly and do this and the other. And we came up with ideas for those customers to create webinars and online training and engagement sessions. And so we worked with a number of organizations to create those, and they were successful. And then George Floyd happened, and those same organizations began to ask us questions around what should our messaging be around promoting the fact that we believe in diversity. What should we be doing to show beyond just a message that we are serious about changing diversity in all industries and across all facets of professional world, whether that's in government, whether that's in nonprofit, whatever. And so we started working and engaging with organizations focusing on that stuff. And so we've worked with organizations to help them build pipelines to where they can find and identify diverse talent. And so I would tell you, I've worked with one large fintech company who had a need for building a pipeline. And then I brought them and introduced them to another customer of mine, which was a local college here in New York. It was actually St. Francis College in Brooklyn. Yep. And they had the talent pool. And so the thought was, let's educate and develop that talent pool on what financial services and technology is, and how that combination has been created to create this thing we call fintech, and what that is, the delivery of data and information for the purpose of decision making, and allow these kids to have a vision into what's possible from a career aspect in that space, whether that's in sales, whether that's in product development, whether that's in customer support. Let's educate these kids so that you can then identify these kids to drop into your pipeline. Yep. And so that's where our business has gone. It's gone into finding ways to assist companies who have now really looked at themselves in the mirror and said, you know what, we've talked about diversity, but have we been extremely deliberate about it? We're going to change that. We're going to be extremely deliberate about it. And so you see all this taking place. You see the Goldman Sachs's, the Morgan Stanley's, the Merrill, all these firms are really focused, and they've had diversity officers, and those diversity officers have turned the volume up, and those companies are going beyond just trying to find talent, but driving their customers to make changes. And then, as you can see, David Solomon at Goldman Sachs has said, hey, listen, here's what we're going to do. We're going to, any company that we're going to work with to do an IPO or take public, we're going to ask that they have diverse talent on their board of directors.
Yep.
So these are the types of things we're not working with Goldman, but we're working with companies to do things like Goldman has done, or working with companies to tap into sources of diverse talent. So whether it's St. Francis College or whether it's the network of historically Black colleges and universities that I'm tied into, hey, they want to get there, and they want to make sure that they're having an impact and driving change. So that's what I see happening.
That was like the magic wand of an angel with the lovely background noise, agreeing with your with your point there. Always love those sounds on the computers. I love asking this question, Dale, because you're thriving in your business. You've been successful in your career. You're an entrepreneur. You're ahead of the curve in trying to help people make the change and the awareness that they need to. What we call that on this show is you are thriving on most days.
I love it.
But like everyone, we all have days when we're not quite kicking on all cylinders. Dale, when you have trouble thriving, who or what practice do you seek to get yourself back on the thriving track?
Well, you know what, man? I would tell you one of my, probably obviously my biggest cheerleader, and someone I've always looked up to and who has motivated me, is my mother. And I remember, and I know you and I talked about our mothers and how important they were in our lives, but my mother continues to be important in my life. Now she's more of a cheerleader. She wants to call me every day and find out, hey, what you doing? What's going on? How's your business? All that. And I want to give it to her. I'm busy and it's all good. But I look back on those days when, and I tell people this often. I remember when things were challenging for her economically. She had lost her job and she was trying to figure out how to keep me in decent clothes and keep me fed, while at the same time trying to keep herself above water. And I remember the repo man one day coming to pick the vehicle up because she hadn't been able to make payments. And that was in the early 80s. That was probably like 1980. And I remember watching that and saying, well, that's never going to happen again if I can have some type of control over that. And so that is my motivation, knowing that my mother did everything she could to make sure that I had a fairly comfortable life, right? And it was comfortable by most. And she had to pick up right after that happened. She had to figure out, okay, how am I going to get to work? How am I going to keep these lights on? How am I going to do the things I need to do? So whenever I think I'm having a bad day, I look back on that.
Two things just happened there. One, we're going to give a shout out to my mom, who actually connected us. Look at that. Mom showing the connecting skills right there. And obviously the other thing is now I'm going to have to go call her, because I think every listener just right now just said, oh, great. Now I got to call my mom. And look at Dale showing the example and looking up to your mom to go do that, which we all should do. But obviously making that as a thing to help you get back on the thriving track.
Yeah.
You go, Dale.
That's it, man.
I just have to pick up the phone after this right now.
And look, that's nothing to take away from my dad, because my father was also in my life, and my father showed me the aspects and the fundamentals of what manhood was, as well as taught me a lot about how to be a professional, because he worked in the professional world, a white collar guy who was really gave me the vision. Okay, you're supposed to dress like this. You're supposed to talk and communicate with people like this. Oh, I'm supposed to play golf as well. So he gave me those things. So I had a good combination of parents, but like I said, watching my mother put all the chips on me was the thing that makes me thrive every day. Cause I know that's the same life I want to give, if not better, to my kids. So there are no days off when you know that things could be worse. So no reason to be upset.
Love it. Dale, let's do the admin part of the show here.
Okay.
Share with the listeners, if you could, all the places people can find you, websites, links,
yeah,
everything you want. We will put it all in the show notes, but it always gets more engagement.
You can always Google adaptive growth leadership, and our website is www.adapt, the letter N, so adaptandlead.com. So we're there. You can find us, and you can find me personally if you want to look at myself, at Dale Favors. You can find me on LinkedIn. You can find me on Instagram. You can also find me on Facebook. So we're there, as well as adaptive growth leadership is there as well.
Perfect. Permission, Dale, to go down Fun Street here on Thrive Live.
Let's go, man.
This show up with a lot of fun. It's been spectacular from the beginning. I think this will be a lot more fun as we get to learn a little bit more about you.
Okay.
Can you share with the listeners an all-time favorite movie of yours?
Oh, that's easy. The Godfather.
And why does that movie connect so much with you?
Because The Godfather is about family first. And it's also about strategic chess moves that have to be made in order to win.
Do you play chess?
I play a little bit of chess. I'm not as good as I was, a little better than I am now, but it's a game that I totally respect, and that's what I would tell you.
I like it. And I love The Godfather. Are you a bigger fan of 1 or 2?
You know what? I loved 1, but 2 is the foundation, because 2 tells you the story of how 1 is set up.
Yep.
Right. And that's what makes 1 and 2 powerful. And that's why it's such a great movie.
I've read the book from Mario Puzo, and they blend those 2 movies together. It's a little more complicated when you're reading the book, and I never remember which is which, but it's so good. Anyway. Okay. This is how we roll on Fun Street, which we call the speed round.
Okay.
I'm going to ask you something. I want the first thing that comes to your mind. These are things that make you feel good, that lift you up, that make you thrive.
Okay.
Okay. A song you love to hear or that pumps you up.
Let's get this party started.
Favorite food that's not a dessert.
Oxtails.
Favorite dessert.
Cherry cheesecake with cherries on top.
Ooh. An activity you wish you did more of.
Well, some would say I do a lot of this, but golf is something I cannot get enough of.
An activity you wish you did less of.
Well, that's a good one, but I would say probably work.
Dale, if you could snap your fingers and go anywhere in the world, where are you?
I would probably be in Jamaica, which is the homeland of my wife and her family. She's a descendant of Jamaica, and I could be playing golf, so she could be happy to be in the nice warm sun on the beach. And we do what we usually do, which is I wake up early and go play, and I meet her somewhere around lunchtime, and she's usually on the beach reading a book.
Dude, I want that. To say you have the in-laws in Jamaica might be the greatest thing of all time.
Well, you know what? My mother-in-law has lived with us for 18, 19 years. So, okay. Yeah, her parents came here from Jamaica, and then she was born here, but homeland is always home, and she is a proud Jamaican.
I love it. Dale Favors, Adaptive Growth Leadership. Truly a pleasure to have you on the show. Thanks for your insight, the work that you're doing. Great stuff, great lessons here, and also how you can better connect. And really had fun chatting with you today.
Hey, appreciate your time, man.
And to all our listeners out there, thank you for joining us. Until next time, keep thriving onward and upward. And remember, be brief, be bright, be gone.
You've been listening to Thrive Loud with your host, Lou Diamond. Check us out on the web at thriveloud.com and follow us on Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, and Facebook at Thrive Loud. And check us out on the Good Pods app at Thrive Loud, where you can follow, listen, and connect directly to Lou and all of the Thrive Loud episodes. Thanks for listening.